He inherited an empty space station and a robot dog. The dog's secret changed everything. The space station drifted in orbit over a dead world, its silhouette broken, panels missing, silent as a tomb. When Darius inherited it, the lawyers called it worthless salvage, the kind of inheritance that only brought debt. His great-uncle had died without heirs closer than him, leaving behind this derelict station and, according to the will, a dog. Darius expected a mutt. What he found was a machine. The robot dog greeted him the moment he stepped through the airlock. Its plating was dented, optics dim but still sharp, tail wagging with surprising realism. Designation, Argos. It said in a voice both warm and metallic. Welcome home, Master. Darius blinked. Home? This place is a ruin. The dog tilted its head. Only if you forget what lies within. At first, Argos seemed like nothing more than a relic. He padded through the empty corridors beside Darius, guiding him past collapsed bulkheads and hollow chambers where only the hum of failing life support echoed. But Argos was more than a companion, he remembered. He remembered every system, every crew member, every access code. When Darius touched a sealed door, Argos placed a paw on a recessed panel, and suddenly the dead lights flickered back to life. Why do you know these codes? Darius asked. My duty was to guard them, the dog replied simply. Bit by bit, the station woke, power conduits hummed again, gravity stabilizers came online, and long-dormant screens lit up with streams of data. Yet Argos always led Darius to the right terminal, the right access hatch, the right forgotten archive, almost as if he knew where the treasures were hidden. And then came the night when the stars around the station shifted. Argos stiffened, his optics burned brighter. They've found us. Who? Darius demanded. The ones your uncle feared most. The ones he built this station to resist. The enemy ship that appeared was no ordinary raider. It bore the insignia of the Koran Dominion, a species that had ruled the Outer Rim for centuries, known for burning colonies and enslaving entire populations. Darius had heard of them. Humans whispered about the Dominion but never dared fight them. Why would they care about a broken station? He asked. Argos looked up at him, and for the first time, Darius swore he saw something like guilt flicker in those mechanical eyes. Because of me. The floor panels beneath them shifted. Argos led him to the core chamber, a place Darius hadn't been allowed access to until now. Inside, hidden beneath reinforced plating, was not just a reactor, but a vault. And inside the vault were schematics, weapons designs, and encrypted logs. Your uncle was not just hiding from the Dominion, Argos said. He was building something they feared. He made me the keeper of it. Darius's breath caught. You're not just a dog. Argos lowered his head. I am the last warrior of old Earth. My body is humble, but my mind holds the code of 1,000 human weapons, the kind the Dominion still remembers losing to. The Kuran ship hailed them, its commander mocking the last scavenger clinging to human bones. But Argos stood straighter, tail rising like a banner. Master, he said, if you give the word, I will awaken what your uncle built. But understand, once I do, there is no going back. Humanity will no longer be forgotten. Darius felt the weight of history pressing down on him. His uncle had hidden, preserved, and waited. Now it was his choice. He looked at Argos, this loyal machine with the soul of a warrior, and nodded. Wake it. The station roared to life. Hidden cannons extended from broken panels. Long-range arrays unfolded like wings, and systems thought dead for a century came online. Argos's optics flared, feeding data into every weapon system at once. When the Dominion ship fired, the station fired back, not as a ruin, but as a fortress reborn. And as the wreckage of the enemy drifted into the void, Darius realized the truth. The galaxy thought humanity was weak, extinct, forgotten. But Argos's secret had changed everything. Humanity wasn't gone. It was only sleeping, waiting for someone to inherit the fire. Would you like me to expand this into a longer multi-chapter HFY story, where Argos slowly reveals more secrets of old Earth and Darius builds an alliance around the station? Got it, here's the continuation, picking up right where we left off. Part 2, Doubt in the Cadet Hall. Cadet drill was carried out by attendants, still unconscious, his crest limp and his mandibles slack. None of the others moved to laugh at him, or mock his weakness. Under normal circumstances, such a fainting would have earned endless ridicule. But not after what they had seen. Cadet Trice's claws tapped nervously against his datapad. "Instructor," he said slowly, his throat tightening around every word. "Why do the humans fight like that? They don't retreat when their lines break. They don't surrender when surrounded. They endure, even when endurance is impossible." Vorus's gaze swept the room, cold and sharp. "Because they are animals. They are ruled by primitive instincts, fear, rage, and a stubborn refusal to know when they are beaten. It is not strength. It is madness. That madness is why we must break them swiftly." But his words rang hollow. Cadet Kren leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Madness? Captain, what I saw was not madness. It was," he hesitated, searching for the right word, "devotion, to each other, to survival, to something greater than themselves." The room grew heavy with silence. The air recycler hummed, far too loud in the stillness. Cadet Sill, who had remained quiet until now, finally spoke. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "If we face them, if the Dominion sends us to war with them, will we stand like that? Will we throw ourselves into the fire for one another? Or will we scatter as our drills teach us, measured, efficient, logical?" The question struck deeper than any explosion on the holoscreens. Trice looked at his talons. "I don't know anymore." Captain Vorus slammed a claw against the lectern, startling them. "Enough. You are cadets of the Dominion. You will not speak as though these primates are our equals. They are nothing. They are fuel for the expansion of the Ketheri. Do you understand?" The cadets answered in unison, but it was not the sharp, confident chorus Vorus expected. "Yes, Captain." The sound was brittle, hollow. Vorus heard it. He knew the seed of doubt had already been planted, and no order could pull it free. As the cadets filed out of the hall, whispers followed them like smoke. "They fight like predators." No, worse, they fight like a pack protecting its own. What if we cannot break them? What if the Dominion is wrong? Far above, orbiting the Academy world, the Dominion's fleet waited for orders to begin the Sol 3 pacification campaign. And in the shadows of the cadet halls, the first cracks in Ketheri faith began to spread. Would you like me to push Part 3 toward the moment when these same cadets are actually sent against humans, and they discover whether their doubts were right? Perfect, let's advance into Part 3, when the cadets are no longer just spectators but get thrown into humanity's fire for real. Part 3, First Contact and Fire. The cadets had only days to process what they had seen before the order came down. Their training tour was cut short. They were being deployed, not as observers this time, but as junior officers assigned to the front. The Dominion's fleets had already entered Sol space. The campaign planners had promised a swift victory. The primates are fractured, the high strategists declared. They lack unity. Their world is ripe for conquest. Cadet Trice, now Lieutenant Trice, didn't believe that anymore. Neither did most of his classmates. But orders were orders. Their first deployment was a ruined industrial district on the outskirts of a Terran megacity. Smoke rose in black columns. Human resistance cells had cut through 3 Dominion patrols already. The cadets' task was simple: secure a landing zone and flush out survivors. The dropships descended through ash-thick clouds. As the cadets disembarked, the ground quaked with distant artillery. "Stay sharp," barked the Dominion commander. "Primitive or not, they are cunning. Do not underestimate." Crack. The first shot echoed. A Dominion trooper collapsed, head shattered by a human rifle round. Then another fell. Then another. The cadets dove for cover, their training scattering them into disciplined fire teams. Plasma bolts lit the rubble, burning holes into walls. But the humans did not scatter. They closed in. Every street, every ruin concealed a rifle barrel, a grenade, a trap. Cadet Kren watched in horror as a human soldier, bleeding from his chest, dragged himself forward, clutching a satchel. Before the Dominion could finish him, he pulled the pin. The explosion tore through 2 armored warriors. Kren's claws shook on his weapon. "Instructor Vorus, they're dying just to kill us." Vorus snarled, firing blindly into the ruins. "Then kill them faster." But the cadets saw the truth. The humans weren't just defending. They weren't just resisting. They were enduring. Hours passed. The cadets were pinned in rubble, supplies dwindling, Humans swarmed like shadows, vanishing after each strike, reappearing where least expected, and all the while, they shouted to one another, not orders, not fear, but words the translator struggled to capture. Hold the line. Cover me. No one left behind. Sall pressed her crest flat against her skull, listening. They're not afraid, she whispered. They're together. Every one of them fights for the others. Another explosion rocked the cadet's position. The Dominion commander fell. His armor split open. Suddenly, all eyes turned to Voris, and to the cadets beneath him. The choice lay before them. Fight on for the Dominion, or listen to the seed of doubt that had been planted days ago. And deep inside, each cadet knew the truth. They were not the hunters here. They were the ones trapped in the predator's den. Would you like me to make part for the turning point, where the cadets either betray the Dominion or face annihilation by the humans? Alright, here's the next part from the Predator's perspective. Part 3, The Predator's Council. The Elder returned to the stone hollow before the moons had fully risen. The hollow was no ordinary den. It was the seat of the forest's law, a ring of boulders older than the rivers, where the oldest predators gathered when territory lines blurred, when a rival pack encroached, or when the balance of the hunt was threatened. Tonight, every predator was there. Saber wolves with frost on their fur, razor beaks with talons as long as a cub's arm. Even the great tusked murderboars had come, their breath fogging in the cold night air. The Elder stepped into the ring. Silence fell. It spoke, not in the soft mimicry of prey species, but in the deep, layered growl of its kind. Each word was more vibration than sound. A stranger has entered the forest. Low murmurs rippled through the gathering. The Elder raised its head. Not prey, not predator, guardian. That word, a guardian, made several predators bristle. Guardians were a myth, a story mothers told their cubs, beings who would throw themselves between the helpless and the jaws of death, not for blood, not for debt, but because something in their heart demanded it. The Elder continued. The young one challenged it. The guardian did not flee. It faced death with no claws, no fangs, no pack. The challenge was answered not with fear, but with fire. It paused, letting the growls fade to stillness. We will not hunt it, nor will we allow it to be hunted. This is the law of the hollow. The tusked boar rumbled a protest. Why spare it? The Elder's eyes narrowed. Because it shields what is not its own. A creature that does this cannot be measured by hunger or strength. Its kind will come, and if they are like it, then the forest will belong to them long before they take it. One by one, the predators bowed their heads. Some in respect, some in fear, all in agreement. The human, unaware, slept that night beneath a hollowed tree, while around them, the most dangerous predators in the forest kept silent watch. If you want, I can make the next chapter jump to a scene where the human meets the cub's mother and learns the predators have started guarding them from other dangers. That's when the human finally realizes something strange is going on. Here's the next chapter, where the human meets the cub's mother and begins to suspect the forest has changed. Part 4, The Mother's Debt. Dawn in the forest was usually a dangerous hour. Shadows clung to the ground, and the night's hunters were still prowling while the day's hunters began to stir. The human knew this. They'd learned it the hard way during their first week stranded here. But this morning was different. No rustle of wings. No stalking shapes in the mist. Only the steady breathing of the cubs curled against them in the hollow tree. The human stretched and winced, sleeping in armor, if you could call a patched jacket armor, didn't do wonders for the back. They glanced at the cubs, still asleep, soft ears twitching. A deep growl rolled through the trees. The human was on their feet instantly, stick in hand. It was lower than the growls from last night, but heavier, older. The cubs woke, froze, then bolted past the human toward the sound. The human's breath caught. Charging after predators was not generally on their survival checklist, but then they saw her. The cub's mother. She was enormous, all sinew and scar tissue, her fur streaked with the pale marks of old battles, eyes the color of molten gold locked on the human. The cubs barreled into her legs, yipping in their own language, telling the story of last night in frantic bursts. The mother listened, and then she stepped forward. The human tightened their grip on the stick. Instead of attacking, the predator lowered her head until her massive snout was inches from the human's chest. She inhaled deeply, once, twice, then exhaled a breath hot enough to mist the cold morning air across the human's skin. Her gaze softened. Then she did something that made the human's knees lock. She stepped aside, exposing her flank, an unspoken gesture in predator culture: trust, invitation. The human blinked. "You're welcome," they murmured, feeling ridiculous for speaking to a creature that probably couldn't understand. But it did understand, more than the human knew. From that day on, the mother followed at a distance whenever the human moved through the forest. No scavenger dared to circle, no hidden predator dared to stalk. The human thought they'd simply earned the mother's gratitude. They didn't realize yet they had been claimed. If you want, I can take the next part into a more dramatic twist, where the human finally leaves the cub's territory, only to discover that predators from other forests are watching them now. Would you like me to go in that direction? Perfect, here's the continuation, where Darius makes the call that changes everything. Chapter 6, The Call. The command chamber was silent except for the hum of the Aegis core. Its glow painted the walls in shifting patterns, alive as if it were listening. Darius stood before it, hands trembling. He wasn't a soldier, wasn't a statesman, but every eye on the station looked to him. Every voice in the core pulsed with one question: what now? Argos sat at his side, tail curled neatly around his paws. His voice was calm, but heavy with weight. The core can carry your intent further than you imagine, through shadow nets, forgotten relays, even across Dominion-controlled space. If you call, others will hear it. But once you speak, You cannot take it back. They will know you exist, and so will the enemy. Darius looked out the viewport at the ragged fleet, scavengers, smugglers, families, his fleet. He took a breath, and placed his hand on the core. It was like plunging into an ocean of minds. Not just the ones tethered to the station, but echoes across space, faint, distant, searching, colonists whispering prayers, rebels hiding in caves, entire worlds dreaming of a day when the Dominion would bleed. And through the core, Darius spoke. This is Darius Holt, inheritor of Station Aegis. The Dominion says humanity is gone, forgotten, broken. They are wrong. We stood against their fleet, and we won. Not because we were stronger, not because we were ready, but because we stood together. If you are tired of running, tired of kneeling, come, bring your broken ships, your empty bellies, your anger, your hope. We will make a place for you. We will fight with you. We are not an empire. We are not an army. We are a people, and a people who refuse to kneel cannot be conquered. The core carried his words not as sound, but as fire. It leapt from mind to mind, sparking old embers. When he released it, he staggered, dizzy. It's done, he whispered. Argos's eyes glowed brighter. Now we wait. They did not wait long. The first ship to arrive was a battered frigate bearing no colors. Its captain, a scarred reptilian, hailed them with a crooked smile. Heard the call, fought the Dominion once, lost everything. If you're fighting again, I'll bleed with you. Then came a convoy of freighters from a mining colony, entire families aboard. Then a squadron of exiled pirates, laughing as though daring the galaxy to stop them. Then, to Darius's shock, a sleek corvette flying the crest of a species that had once sided with the Dominion. Within days, the station's orbit was crowded with ships, not a fleet of order and uniformity, but a storm of defiance, patched, dented, armed with whatever their crews could weld or steal. The spark had caught. But in the darkness beyond the rim, the Dominion fleet was gathering too, vast, merciless. Argos sat beside Darius as new arrivals docked, optics fixed on the stars where the enemy would come. They will call you a fool, the dog said softly. They will call you doomed, but do you know what they will not call you? Master? Darius shook his head. Argos bared metal teeth in something between a grin and a snarl. Silent. Do you want Chapter 7 to show the Dominion's purge fleet setting out, and the first hints that other oppressed species might rise alongside humanity? Here's the next chapter, as the Dominion stirs and the galaxy shifts. Chapter 7, The Black Sun Rises. The Dominion did not whisper. They declared. Across every controlled world, the same broadcast burned its way into public channels. A towering Kuran warlord, plated in obsidian armor, spoke before a writhing emblem of their empire, a black sun eclipsing all light. The ember of humanity has flickered again. We will snuff it out. Let all who hear this know, defy the Dominion, and you will share their fate. We will scorch their station. We will erase their fleets. We will grind their bones to dust beneath the shadow of the black sun. And behind him, the hollow screen revealed it, the Purge fleet. Dozens of warships, larger than cities, flanked by endless escorts, engines glowing like blood, weapons arrays bristling, shields layered thicker than planetary crust. It was more than a fleet. It was a hammer designed to crush hope itself. When the transmission ended, silence fell across Station Aegis. Darius stood among the leaders of the ragtag arrivals, the mercenary captain, the pirate admiral, the miner's foreman, the exiled corvette commander. All eyes turned to him. He felt the weight pressing on his chest, the knowledge that the Dominion would not stop until he and everything he touched was ash. We can't beat that, someone muttered, not even with the core. Another spat bitterly, maybe we should scatter, live to fight another day. The voices rose, fear, anger, doubt. And then, Argos barked, a sharp, commanding sound that cut through them all. His optics glowed like twin stars. Do you think your enemy underestimates you? No, they fear you. That is why they bring their entire armada to burn a single ember. They fear what happens if this ember becomes a fire. The chamber quieted. Darius found his voice. He's right. We can't outrun them. We can't outgun them. But we don't have to. We just have to show the galaxy that the Dominion bleeds. If we stand, if we make them pay for every inch, they will see. And they will rise. And indeed, whispers were already spreading. On a frontier moon, slaves whispered of the human fleet. On a water world, a conquered species painted the human emblem on hidden caves. On a Dominion-held colony, rebels heard Darius's call and dared to dream. The ember was catching fire, not just among humans, but among all who had suffered under the Black Sun. That night, Darius stood alone at the viewport, staring at the distant stars where the Purge fleet gathered. His reflection was tired, scarred, uncertain. Argos padded to his side, pressing metal shoulder against his leg. "You still think you inherited ruins," the dog said softly, "but what you inherited was a chance. Few are ever given such a gift." Darius swallowed. A chance to die gloriously? Argos's tail gave a single wag. A chance to live loudly, loud enough to wake the galaxy. And out there, in the cold void, the Black Sun began to rise. Do you want Chapter 8 to cover the first cracks in the Dominions? Control, where oppressed worlds start openly rebelling after hearing about the human stand. Here's the continuation, the galaxy begins to stir. Chapter 8, Cracks in the Black Sun. The Dominion believed in terror. Terror to silence, terror to control, terror to erase memory itself. For centuries, it had worked. Entire species bent under their shadow, convinced resistance was suicide. But word of the battle at Aegis spread like lightning. Not propaganda, rumor. Rumors were harder to kill. On the desert world of Talrith, slaves toiled in crystal mines under the Dominion overseers. Whips cracked, drones patrolled, and the people kept their eyes down. Until one day, a shard of smuggled data played across a hidden projector, a grainy image of freighters and scavenger ships swarming like hornets, tearing down a Dominion cruiser. The miners stopped working, and when the overseer shouted, no one bowed. The first stone was thrown. By nightfall, the mines were in flames. On the ocean world of Vela, the native Shulkin had long been forbidden ships of their own, but they carved them anyway, in secret caves, waiting for a reason. When the whispers came that humans fought again, they painted their sails black, then set them ablaze in the harbor at once. Dominion patrols tried to crush them. The Shulkin dove, dragging the soldiers into the depths. Entire garrisons vanished beneath the waves. And in the cold warrens of Corvier, where rebels had lived generations beneath the Dominion's heel, they felt the core itself, a faint pulse in the dark. They did not know who Darius Holt was. They only knew that somewhere, someone stood against the Empire. So they lit fires in every tunnel, 1,000 flames in defiance, and the Dominion soldiers who saw it realized too late that their barracks were surrounded. Back on Station Aegis, reports trickled in daily. Argos processed them with silent satisfaction. The Dominion is overextending, he told Darius. They burn themselves thin trying to stamp out sparks, but the more they strike, the more sparks fly. Darius leaned over the holotable, watching the spread of uprisings. His hands shook, not from fear, but from awe. It's not just us, he whispered. It's everyone. Argos's optics glowed warmly. That, Master, was always humanity's gift. You never fought alone, you made others believe they could fight too. But the Purge fleet still came. Reports said it darkened entire skies, its engines blotting out starlight. Entire sectors were emptied as it advanced, civilians fleeing before the storm. It did not scatter. It did not hesitate. It was coming straight for Aegis, determined to crush the ember before it could become wildfire. The fleet was weeks away. Darius stood in the docking bay, watching more ships arrive each day, miners with ore haulers, mercenaries with scarred warships, even alien rebels flying stolen Dominion craft. It wasn't an army yet. It was still ragged, chaotic, fragile. But it was growing. And when the Purge fleet came, it would find not an ember, but the beginnings of an inferno. Do you want Chapter 9 to show the preparations for the inevitable battle, where Darius and Argos try to weld this wild mix of ships and peoples into something that can survive the storm? Here we go, now the build-up before the storm. Chapter 9, Forging the Inferno. The docking bays of Station Aegis throbbed with noise and chaos. Welding torches flared, Cargo lifters screeched under the weight of scrap being hammered into armor plating. The air stank of oil, ozone, and too many bodies crammed together. It wasn't an army, it was a scrapyard given life. And somehow, Darius had to turn it into something that could face the purge fleet. Argos trotted beside him through the chaos, optics sweeping, logging every detail. 300 vessels now registered. Of those, 50 are combat-capable. Another 80 can be repurposed. The rest are ballast, unless we are creative. Creative? Darius asked, ducking as a shower of sparks rained from a scaffolding above. Old Earth doctrine, Argos replied. Every ship is a weapon. A freighter can ram, a hauler can shield, a tug can tow wreckage into enemy lanes. You lack soldiers, but you have stubbornness. Darius gave a tired laugh. That we've gotten spades. He called a council. Representatives from every faction crammed into the command chamber, scarred mercenary captains, pirate lords with jeweled tusks, weary colony foremen, alien rebels who still flinched at the sight of authority. They argued before they sat down, shouted once they did, and nearly came to blows more than once. Darius let them rage. Then he placed his hand on the Aegis core. Silence fell like a curtain. And then, connection. Every mind in that chamber brushed against the others. Suspicion met grief, anger met desperation, pride met shame. For the first time, they felt what had been buried beneath the shouting, the same fear, the same fury, the same fragile hope. Darius spoke through the core, his voice carried into their bones. We are not one people, we are dozens, but we face one enemy, and if we fight as strangers, the Dominion will grind us into dust. If we fight as one, even for a single hour, we can make the black sun bleed. That hour is all the galaxy needs. The training began. Ships that had once fled at the sight of a Dominion patrol now drilled side by side. Pirates learned discipline from mercenaries. Miners welded armor plating where pirates had once patched bullet holes. Families volunteered as medics. Children carried scrap to engineers. Through it all, the Corps linked them, not erasing their differences, but weaving them together. And Argos drilled them mercilessly. The dog's bark echoed through the calms, issuing commands, corrections, even insults with the precision of a veteran general. Pilots cursed his name, then obeyed him. By the end of the week, what had been chaos now moved like a single organism, clumsy, bruised, but united. One night, exhausted, Darius leaned against the viewport. The growing fleet glimmered outside, patched with mismatched armor, bristling with scavenged weapons. It looked ridiculous, it looked fragile. But it also looked alive. Argos sat beside him, silent for a time. Then he said quietly, "When old Earth fell, I thought humanity was gone forever. But I see now, I was wrong. You are not a flame that dies. You are fire that spreads, and soon, Master, you will burn the black sun itself." Far away, beyond the rim, the Purge fleet tore through another sector, leaving silence in its wake. And it kept coming. Straight for Aegis. Do you want Chapter 10 to be the opening of the great battle itself, when the Dominion Purge fleet finally arrives and the Ragtag Alliance faces annihilation? Here we go, the storm finally arrives. Chapter 10, The Purge Fleet. The first shadow appeared at the edge of the system. A Karen destroyer, massive and sleek, sliding out of slipspace like a hunting blade. Then another, then 10. Then the sky cracked open. The Purge fleet poured through, towering battleships, fortress carriers, and escorts so numerous they blotted out the stars. Engines glowed like blood, hulls bristled with weapons that had erased civilizations. The black sun had come to burn the ember. On Station Aegis, the alarms wailed. Docked ships scrambled, scattering into formation. Mercenary cruisers spun up shields. Pirates hooped into their calms. Freighters lumbered forward like clumsy giants. In the command chamber, Darius felt the Aegis core thrum against his chest like a second heart. Voices flooded his mind, fear, rage, hope, all crashing into him at once. Too many? We're dead already. Commander, give us the word. His hands shook. For a heartbeat, he was just a man again, Darius Holt, inheritor of ruins, standing before an impossible wall of steel and fire. Then Argos barked, loud, sharp, steady. Master, do not look at their size. Look at ours. Darius looked. The viewport showed chaos. Yes, a mismatched fleet of rust and desperation. But it also showed hundreds of ships moving with one pulse, one rhythm, the heartbeat of the core. Not an ember, an inferno. He set his jaw. We hold this line. The words rolled out through the core, not as sound but as iron. Every pilot, every fighter, every frightened colonist felt them. And the fleet answered, we hold. The Dominion fired first. Lances of plasma tore across the void, ripping through the station's outer shields. A freighter caught a blast square on and disintegrated, its crew's death scream echoing through the core. Darius staggered under the weight of it. Argos steadied him with a growl. Focus, Master. For every ship we lose, we take 2 of theirs. Strike where they are weak. Darius pushed back the grief, seized the core, and flung his will into it. Left flank, a forward. Freighters, brace. Gunships, punch through the gap. The ragtag fleet surged like a wave. Pirate raiders swarmed a Dominion destroyer, peppering it with torpedoes until its shields buckled. A mining hauler rammed another, tearing its guts open before breaking apart. Mercenary cruisers circled, hammering the crippled ships into wreckage. And the station itself, once a silent ruin, unleashed its ancient cannons, ripping a battleship in half with a single, burning volley. For the first time in centuries, the black sun bled. And across the galaxy, those who watched, smugglers, slaves, rebels, governors, saw that it could bleed. But the Purge fleet did not falter. More ships pressed forward, entire squadrons poured fire into the Alliance. Another freighter died, then a mercenary corvette. Each loss tore through the core, shaking Darius's soul. He gritted his teeth, sweat dripping. We can't hold forever. Argos's optics glowed fierce red. Then we hold long enough for the galaxy to wake. Outside, the storm of war raged, embers colliding with the black sun. And in that crucible, humanity's fire burned brighter than it ever had before. Do you want Chapter 11 to be the turning point of the battle, where something, or someone, unexpected arrives to answer the call? All right, now the battle turns. Chapter 11, The Unexpected Answer. The void was fire. Ships burst apart in burning silence. Shield flares lit the darkness like false suns. The Dominion pressed in, their fleet grinding down the fragile Alliance ship by ship. Inside the core, Darius felt every death, each spark torn away. Screaming into nothing, he staggered, hands white-knuckled against the console. We're breaking, he rasped. Argos's metal frame bristled, his voice steel. Then make them fear the break. Darius hurled his will into the core. Ramming group, now. 5 cargo freighters, stripped to armored skeletons, ignited their engines and plowed into the Dominion's spearhead. 2 were shredded before they made contact. The other 3 hit like thunder, tearing open a battleship's side and sending a cascade of wreckage tumbling through the fleet. The Alliance roared through the core, not words, but raw, defiant fury. Even dying, they fought like wolves. And then, a new ripple touched the core, faint, but vast. Not Dominion, not theirs, something else. Darius froze. Do you feel that? Argos's ears twitched, optics widening. Yes. By the stars, yes. Space tore open. But it wasn't the Dominion this time. Ships emerged, dozens, then hundreds, breaking from slipspace like sparks bursting from kindling. Not polished, not uniform, but marked by rebellion, jagged banners, scorched hulls, scavenged weapons. Slaves who had fled the Dominion, colonies who had hidden, old mercenaries who'd sworn never to fight again. They had heard the call. And they had come. The core erupted with new voices, alien tongues, human shouts, all bound by the ember's flame. Darius's chest ached as tears blurred his vision. They came. They actually came. Argos barked, fierce and triumphant. The ember spreads. Master, you lit the fire. The galaxy was no longer watching. It was joining. And for the first time, the Purge fleet hesitated. Do you want Chapter 12 to dive straight into the full counterattack, when the United Fleets strike back and the Black Sun learns what happens when prey stops running?